The seventh station, Jesus falls a second time. This station falls in the middle of Christ's agonizing way to Calvary. In spite of the suffering and tiredness he experienced, Jesus, who was unjustly accused, persistently made his way to Calvary for the sake of our salvation. Yet, we can also discern that Christ's way of the cross was not entirely full of despair and darkness. There were at least 3 meetings which acted as lights along the way to Calvary. The meeting with Veronica, who brought relief to Jesus, wiping his face with tenderness. The assistance of Simon of Cyrene, who helped share the burden of the cross. And that very first meeting, the meeting with his mother. No words were uttered between them, but seeing his mother, who had always remained close to him, must have been important at this time of suffering and loneliness. But in spite of those 3 beautiful meetings, Christ falls a second time. The way of the cross was so cruel that any gesture of sympathy or aid seemed futile. They did not change the apparent hopeless situation of Christ as he lay on the ground with no strength to go on. Jesus' second fall perhaps raises a question about the effectiveness of such little acts. If they do not change our position, or at best only offer transitory relief, do they have any value? Do they make any difference to us when our lives are often painful and difficult? If we relate Jesus' second fall to our own lives, we can see in his fall those times of anxiety, difficulties, or mental strain where we have felt overburdened. At those times, we may smile and try to live life normally, but it doesn't resemble how we feel inside. A German Catholic journalist, Wilma Sturm, wrote in her autobiography, "I shudder at the idea that it may be different, that nothing remains for me but coffin and grave and corruption. But I only shudder in the darkness, at night, when I cannot sleep. In the daytime, I am like all those who live as if there were no death." But Jesus' second fall is not the end of the story. This is not a triumph of despair over hope. Maybe if Christ had not got up from the ground, if he had given up, this may have been so. But in spite of the great suffering he was experiencing, he rose once more and continued on his way for the sake of our salvation. I am convinced that these 3 meetings with Mary, Simon, and Veronica were a source of strength and encouragement which helped Jesus to rise and carry on. These little acts which we do or receive from others, though not particularly spectacular in nature and seemingly ineffective initially, they are truly lights along the path of life. These little acts or deeds are signs of the Holy Spirit and his presence in our difficulties and sufferings. Our lives may not miraculously change for the better, but the Holy Spirit can bring about change in our lives and help support us at times when the cross weighs heavy upon us, through the small acts and deeds we do, or the acts and deeds done to us by others.
It is